Hello everyone, this is Shay coming in to give you a quick review of the Have and the Have-Nots, episode 18 in season 5. Now, even though it was a pretty good show, I am amazed at the fact that Candace still doesn't know that her son is dead. Now, we are at episode 18, and Candace still does not know. And didn't the DA die in season 4 episode, the finale? And no one has gone down for the murder of her yet? Okay. You know what? And I'm also hoping by the season finale of season 5, we will also figure out the Benny situation. Now, I promise I am not going to get too detailed on this episode, since I am already late getting this out. Okay? But we're going to pick up where we left off on Tuesday. And that is where Landon comes over to Jeffrey's hotel. And we know Landon, he had a little too much to drink, so he's all amped up. And so when they get to Jeffrey's hotel, of course, Jeffrey has an uninvited guest. Okay, the policeman, Mr. Justin, is there, and Jeffrey, surprised of course, begins to try to defuse the situation that Landon is pretty much trying to get started. So Landon was like, I am not going anywhere. Jeffrey was like, leave. Landon was like, you got me up here. I'm not going anywhere. So at one point, Landon, okay, he climbs onto Jeffrey's bed where Justin is lying. Justin is lying there just pretty much speechless, like, what is this guy doing? Of course, Justin was upset now with Jeffrey for allowing Landon to get involved in their little situation. Now, Justin was able to get Landon to leave when he started choking him. I guess Landon was like, I better get up out of here. So, this was a long, drawn out scene. To me, seemed too much. Now, after Jeffrey was about to leave because he was all upset with his uninvited guest. Now, when he opens the door, look who walks in. Jeffrey's mother, Veronica. Now, she was already recorded. Now, Justin jumps up. Then he sees the camera. Veronica's all in his face with the camera recording. And he takes off and starts hiding all up under the covers. Now, you know what? Perhaps after this, Justin will leave Jeffrey alone. Because it seemed like you can't get it through Justin's head to leave Jeffrey alone. Okay, now next scene we see Erica. Now Erica is in the bathroom at the hotel. Now she's talking to Ward. Now we all know that she's trying to locate Candace from Ward. Now she was trying to give him some information on her exact location. But when Candace talked to her, she wouldn't give her exact room number. I guess Candace probably somewhat owned to Mrs. Erica. But Ward was like, okay, well, that's cool. She can't get that far because the cops are all over her. So, but Erica suggested that, you know what, Ward, I'll call the cops on her. Ward was like, no, I want to get her. But he want to deal with Candace for himself. I was not quite sure why, War wasn't just like, hey, let's just go ahead and let the cops deal with Candace. But perhaps he thinks prison isn't good enough for her. Okay. Next up, we see Mr. Cryer and Oscar. They sitting out in the hotel lobby. Mr. Cryer calls Wars, basically, for Mama Rose. He was trying to trace his exact location, but we all knew Ward was not going to fall for Mr. Cryer. His little whatever he was trying to do. But Jim goes on to tell Ward about his warrants and how he could have helped him to escape all that little situation. But in return, he needs to get the rest of the photos from Candace. Ward was like, I don't have time for this. Hey, Mr. Cryer, I'm a thug and you're a judge, whatever. And then he was like, lose this number, whatever. Basically, whatever, in the conversation, Ward gets spooked and hangs up, on Mr. Cryer. And so when he hung up too soon, so Oscar couldn't, get the exact location, but he was able to get a general location for Ward, which that wasn't any good because he needs to know exactly where he is. So Mr. Cryer, he's all up in a frenzy because he is afraid of Mama Rose because he know what she's going to do to him. Well, in other words now, he doesn't know what she's going to do to him, but it's not going to be anything nice. Because he knows, he said it, if I can't find Ward, things are going to hit the fan, and yes it is. Now, according to Oscar, he said, things had already hit the fan. And Jim was like, what are you talking about, Oscar? Oscar was like, look at this. And he turns and shows Mr. Cryer the footage of the DA body, the news footage of the body being found with that note with the Cryer's name on it. And Jim was like, how did this happen? What's going on? I thought this was taken care of. On. But, he said, okay, Mama Rose. And they thought, okay, well, Mama Rose is behind all this. Well, of course, she was just sending a message. Okay, next up, we see the Cryer's son. Okay, now, that episode was not all that interesting to me, so I am not going to bore you with that episode. Jeffrey came over and whatever, and he was asleep, and he pretty much didn't want to see Jeffrey, so he was talking to his counselor pretty much the whole time. Okay, the next episode was sort of bothered me. You know what? Because it took, to me, a racial turn. That was because Jim Cryer kept referencing that it was a black kid that was shooting at Mama Rose's grandson. And then they also mentioned another situation when there was another black person that was, messing with her family. So, and then, she took out an entire project because of that one black person that was messing with her family. So are they trying to say if it was a non-black person shooting at the grandson or the family, it would be okay? So I really didn't understand why they kept referencing or added that element into this segment. Perhaps, maybe I'm just reaching. Who knows? But that did bother me. But oh well. Next up, we have Hannah, Mrs. Cryer, Mitch, Veronica. They all at the jail. Now the ladies begin to question, who is Benny's lawyer? Veronica says, I am. Hannah was like, I don't think so. So, she used some other choice words, but I won't go there today. I was like, Hannah, you need to chill if you want your son out of jail or out of this situation, because we know that the Secret Service is involved, you really don't want to go there. So Veronica was like, cool, I'll just go home. I get me some rest and all this good stuff. I got things to do. So Miss Cryer was like, Hannah, she's the best, we better get her, whatever, whatever. But Hannah continued to resist the fact of Veronica being Benny's lawyer. We know how Hannah is, She gets in something in her head. You can't, you can't change Hannah's mind. So Mrs. Cryer asks, where is Benny? Veronica asks, does Hannah wants to know? If so, she's going to ask me nicely. Hannah said, I'm not going to ask you nothing. Well, she said some other few choice words, but I'm not going to go there either. Then Veronica tells her he was brought in for murder and the Secret Service got involved. I guess Veronica felt a little sorry for Hannah, so she told her what Benny was brought in for. And after she mentioned the Secret Service, Hannah suspects Veronica is involved now. But Hannah still wants to see Benny. But Veronica tells her, if you want to see Benny, you're going to have to ask me nicely. She was like, you know what? As a matter of fact, you're going to have to get on your knees. And Mitch was standing there looking like, what is going on here? Does these ladies see the bigger picture here? And, Mrs. Cryer reminded Veronica, about some secrets she could reveal. Then Veronica reminded, tell Miss Cryer, I have a few truths I could tell also. Then she began to say, bang, 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 and pow. This is in reference to her killing the DA. I was like, wow, this lady knows she is nuts. Eventually, Mitch reminded them, hey, y'all, come on now. We need to get Benny out of here, and we need to see him. So, we have Benny. Okay, now Mrs. Cryer reminds Veronica about some secrets she could reveal. Then Veronica tells Miss Cryer, I have a few truths I can tell also. Then she begins to say, bang, 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 and pow. Now, this was in reference to her killing that DA. Veronica was like, okay, you go ahead and tell your secrets, and I'm going to tell your truths. So, now, eventually, Mitch had enough. Now, he said, come on. He reminded them, look, we need to work on getting Benny out. We want to see him. So, meanwhile, we have Benny and the Secret Service. Now, they're in there telling Benny, we need your DNA in order to clear you from these terrorist activities. Benny like, I'm not involved in any terrorist activity. And they were asking him, do you know Mitch Malone? And he kind of was, tap danced around it and all. And they were like, well, Mitch Malone, he has ties to a family, that has ties to the Syrian terrorists. Now, this makes no sense to me, but I thought later on, if you remember the episode with Charles tells Candy, they were talking about, how he was setting up Benny. So, hey, I'm thinking now, hey, they need his DNA to frame him. Now, that's what Charles is trying to do. He's helping Candace, but he's framing Benny. I'm like, okay. But, I can see why people would, fall for, just giving their DNA. Because, they sit there, they keep you in interrogation for so long. And you want to, just want to get out of there, go home, take a shower, You know, just clear your mind and everything. Oh, not that I've ever been in jail or prison, but you know, I'm just saying, hey, you know, I'm sure that's how someone would feel if you have, you know, found yourself in that kind of situation, you know? Okay? Now, you know, and definitely, you know, if you're a young person, you know, and then your lawyer is not in there with you, you know. But, you know, so I'm sure it seems like Benny is going to give up his DNA in any minute now. Now, the last scene, you know, I won't really focus on that one too much. Not too much. Because, it's pretty much, you know, when it's focusing on Charles, when Charles tells Candy, you know, he wants to help clean her up and allow her to be the one of the president's ladies. But you notice, he don't want her to be the first lady. And I'm like, yeah, okay. You want me to be one of the ladies, but not the first ladies. First lady. I'm like, yeah, okay. Yeah, right. You know, perhaps Candace will go along with this situation and work it out, I guess. Work her way to, you know, to get out of the situation that she's in and maybe turn it around and help Benny. It's going to be interesting to see if she's going to allow Benny to take the fall for this murder for Quincy. And this is pretty much all I have today for the haves and the have-nots. And I thank you so much for tuning in on today. And if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you have not become a part of the Shay family, hit that subscribe button and that notification button so you will be notified of any videos I post. Alright? Well, I am out and I will see you in future videos.